I've got some things to show. I think primarily it's this sheath here that I'd like to show. That's kind of what got me making a video here. But we've got plenty of accompaniment, so I'll just start at the front here. This is Eric's blade, and it's really ready to be sent to him now. So I made this sheath, or a scabbard, I suppose you might say. Some people might call it a saya. I think that's the Japanese word. It just means scabbard or sheath. But because of the construction style, I suppose you could use something a little exotic there. Terminology-wise, so I didn't put a magnet in or anything, because my notion is that Eric, being a guy who likes to do it for himself, well, he's going to get a blade that could possibly, use a little finishing or not. I mean, it cuts just fine as it is. But he might want to play around with that. And so this could just be the case that it gets mailed in, or it could conceivably get made into some kind of sheath. And so I'll put a magnet in there, and Eric, you can put a magnet in there if you so choose. I may put a couple of magnets in different sizes. So the way that I determine where to put the magnet on the sheath, as I have done here and as I did on Captain Electro's knife, is that I put the magnet here. I'll grab a magnet and I'll demonstrate. Should have had a magnet ready, shouldn't I? I told myself I was only going to cover what's on the table, but here, I'll put that there. Drop something on the floor. Right. So, my reasoning is that we want the magnet to be as far forward as as it really should be, so that it's pulling the blade inwards. Because if you put it here, then put it there, it's gonna retain the knife in the sheath, but it's also gonna allow the knife to slide out a little ways. So I get it to where it kind of wants to comfortably, it doesn't really want to slide further than there. So then, well, actually, that's not even how I did it the last time around. So the last time around, the way I did it was like this. You just figure out where that spot is, where you think it should be. You go a little further and you can, so there, let's say. Then I just drew around that with the pencil, and then drilled my way in with an auger. So yeah, I'll mail that on Monday. And here, have a look at these. Little antique store find. Craftsman brand. Auger bits. So I assume that this was the case that they came with. I suppose it's conceivable that someone made it or had it made, but anyway. These are nice because you can use them by hand with these little handles on them. Because if you're drilling into a piece of balsa like this, to install a magnet, you're going little by little. It's pretty much better for me to just go by hand like this. And they're nice, they're in good condition. Not sure whether we'll be able to make out the anyway. Oh, maybe they're not even old Craftsman. Oh no, there's a C in there. Yeah, so I read Craftsman somewhere in something. So that what you get back in the day, kind of to contrast with what you get nowadays at the Harbor Freight. But we'll come to that. Kukkeli Bushcraft, Tim. Yeah, I haven't really gotten any further with this since I was back at the forge and realized, well, now I went ahead and said on a video how I wouldn't be happy sending a chisel knife with a not true blade on it. So I got to truing it a little more with some help, actually, from Vinny at the forge. He was showing me kind of tricks of the trade. So he had a grind on it as well. And then I hammered on it some more. And so now it's all kind of wonky again, but it's getting there. And these are the handle scales. Oak burl. So yeah, I made the sheath for this little guy. And I put the rubber band on there because I'm opening it and closing it quite a lot, and it's currently just glued together with super glue. So I'm going to wrap it, but this is why I thought, well, if I could film it now to show the construction before I wrap it. So there are considerations, actually. Each of these is, let's say, the Captain Electro, then this one, and then this one. Each of them I made a little differently. So Captain Electro's, the construction was more like this one, in that I started with one piece and then I inserted another piece of balsa. But here, I inserted a piece of lilac wood. We'll come back to that. And this one was just one piece. And then I bent it and glued it here with the super glue and baking soda, which is fairly imperceptible on the camera, but you can see that it just looks white as opposed to having the grain there. So it has a very thin layer of super glue with baking soda, which is then sanded. So I kind of left a drainage hole at the bottom there, potentially, and I left it in this very rough shape. So it could be, you could round it off a lot, obviously, or leave it fairly square, paint it, cover it in leather, wrap it somehow. I don't know. Endless possibilities there, right? So yeah, the way I'd like to proceed with this one is, what I think I'm going to do is epoxy soak a strip of t-shirt fabric and go around this area twice. And I'll go around here as well. I'll just go around the whole thing because I can cut this out later. And then I will go around here with twine, covering the t-shirt. Also epoxy soaks, twine. And then I can sand away the twine on these areas. And to a degree, if I do everything thick enough, it'll be like a single micarta layer, but this side here will have the kind of striated twine look, and this part here will have a some color from some t-shirt material or something. So the reason why I put lilac wood here is because in this instance, with this point here, I realized that it was going to tend to dig in here. And the balsa, you start digging in there and it just starts flaking and messing up very easily. So the lilac wood's pretty strong. So but generally if I just guide using this area, I try and aim that. And then it'll go straight in. And let's listen. Yeah. It's kind of a 3-click deal. Click, 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 and then it's in. So this would be basically to go in a pocket, I guess. And so, because I kind of like the notion of a comparative study, I thought, well, let's compare these two knives a little bit now. I think I may have compared them before somewhat, but, now that this is a complete package, so to speak, although I want to weigh it, and that'll be cheating because later it'll be heavier, but pretty close on blade length. The buck has a hollow grind, very nicely polished. And this has sort of a convex flat grind, very scratchy. We've got some brass accents on both. So a bit more of a handle on the buck. So let's do a little weigh-in here, shall we? Okay. Call it 41 grams. Call it 21. Plus the sheath. That's 25. Let's add that in. Call that like the wrap. See? So getting a significant weight savings. And I like weight savings. I do. Because I can end up with having a whole load of. I could have this knife and this knife. And, a chisel knife and, yeah, little hook bill. All kinds of stuff going on in the pockets when they're lightweight. So, Captain Electro, in case you're watching, I found your Warncliffe. So that'll be getting sent out on Monday as well. Now, I got a plan for this knife. Speaking of comparative study, let's have a look at Kukkeli Bushcraft clip point versus Eric Dongamet clip point. I'm going for more of a Lanny's clip on this one. And so this is going to be quite a lot more robust as well in the end. Well, actually saying that, and still looking about the same. But this one has had more flattening on it, and it will have a finer edge. Yeah, more like that side on this side. So, yeah, because this one, I want to make one of these knives that is quite resilient for kind of stress testing. So I'm going to make a little dinky handle for this. My filming's terrible with the lighting and stuff. But anyway, yeah, it's these little pieces of lilac wood here. Simple clamshell handle. I'll probably put a collar on there. And then I want to throw it into things, stab things, baton with it, whatever, and see. I won't be especially trying to break it. I'll do things that I think it will be able to do. Like, I think this, well done with this handle, I should be able to throw it full force into the barn door, and if it doesn't stick in, however it hits, it will just bounce off, and it won't break. That's my prediction, but I want to test it, because that's interesting. So people who get one of these chisel knives may then be reassured in the use if I can demonstrate that it's reasonably robust, which I'm pretty sure I can, even if I do break it somehow. Joe X style. Not really, but I love Joe X. I love what he does. I think he's great. Just throw that out there. And I would love to do some Joe X style testing at some point. I just have to do some physical conditioning first. Yeah, so this will have a nice chunky handle on it. And I think I'm just going to go for a very sort of traditional semi-oval, nicely rounded, this and then this kind of shape, and then just thin it back in here a little bit. But if Tim wants to give me some input before I continue, then I'll take whatever input, if he wants a bird's beak or whatever. So enough of all this crazy homemade stuff. Let's look at a real proper knife, shall we? The Icon in D2 steel. I don't know, I picked this up at the Harbor Freight. Somehow, I'd seen it before and I wasn't going to buy it, but somehow, I don't know, I just did. I bought it, and I'm really impressed. That's why and I'm not just going to try and tell anyone to buy it. Although I would say that if you are looking for, if this is the kind of knife you're looking for, like a flipper knife with a good hard steel, with a good action, and modern styling and all that kind of thing, new, I think it was $40. This is real. Either it's genuine carbon fiber, or they've done such an impressive job of faking it that kudos to them. But I'm pretty sure that what that would be is just one very thin layer of carbon fiber. But I mean, the fit and finish. So my hypothesis on this, and this is maybe interesting as a speculation, is that this is what they call a loss leader. Now, I'm not saying that actually necessarily Harbor Freight are losing money, so it wouldn't necessarily be a loss leader. But let's say, moving in that direction, I heard that BMW, the big automotive company in Germany, they are so big and successful that the motorcycle wing, being such a small area of what they do, their motorcycle wing has a mandate that they simply have to break even. They don't have to turn a profit. They just have to not lose money for the parent company. And consequently, BMW does make, I think you can very solidly argue that they make the best motorcycle on the market. Their bikes, their top of the range bikes are phenomenal. And of course, there is plenty of competition out there, but them having that connection, moreover, So, what I'm suggesting is that Harbor Freight could offer a knife that a knife company would try and sell you this knife for, I don't know, $100, $200. I guess with the D2 steel, maybe not, right? But I've tested the steel. I haven't file tested it. Look, if you like, let's file test it. Because it's a really, really good knife. I mean, the edge geometry, the edge on it, the fit and finish, it lines up pretty well. It's okay. It's a little off there, actually, right? But you easily find a knife for hundreds of dollars that's off like that or more. Centering is okay when it's closed, but that's kind of my point about centering. I don't give a shit. So, file test. What do we think? I mean, you don't want to start with one that's too soft, so let's go in with the hardest one. Okay, there you go. Oh, maybe I did test it. Well, there you go. Look at that. I mean, maybe I need to test my files, but that's saying 65, meaning this is between 64 and 66. This should be scratching. I'm not getting scratches. I'm getting skating. So maybe the files, I don't know. I've heard that you can get D2 into the 70s, but you wouldn't want to do that, right? But supposedly we're at, what, 67 Rockwell, yeah? I mean, take it or leave it. Like I say, it's the file testing kit. I don't know how dependable that is. I also tested my bush knife, and similarly, it tested extremely hard. I said, wow, is this for real? So now I'm maybe a little skeptical about the file testing kit, or maybe I should just, maybe I'll just push a little harder. I don't think you want to push that hard because you damage the file. See, if the thing is harder than the file, no, it's not scratching. It's skating. So we'll leave that there. You know, that's a video in excess of 20 minutes. I've gone on and on. Hopefully someone enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Hasta la próxima.